The sun had just begun its slow climb over Willow Creek, casting long shadows across the narrow dirt road. Laughter from the children echoed through the misty morning, a fragile soundtrack to the quiet hum of the sleepy town. Then came the sound of paws, rapid, heavy, relentless. Parents peeked from their porches, hearts stuttering, as a German shepherd barreled down the lane, teeth bared, eyes locked on their children. Panic flared, but as the dog skidded to a halt at the edge of the old Miller farm, trembling and whimpering, something in its gaze made even the bravest mother's heart constrict. This wasn't a chase. It was a warning. If you like stories that grip your chest and won't let go, hit like and subscribe for more. The morning fog hung low over Willow Creek, curling around the corners of weathered fences and the gabled roofs of houses that had seen better days. The town was quiet, almost unnervingly so, save for the occasional bark of a dog or the distant clatter of a milk truck's wheels over the rutted road. But on this morning, something felt off, a tension that made the hairs on the back of one's neck stand on end. Lena Barrett, perched on her porch with a steaming mug of coffee, squinted through the mist. Her eyes followed the small group of children weaving to the lane, their laughter bright but fragile in the gray light. There was Tommy and his little sister Emma, carrying their worn backpacks, and a trio of neighborhood kids racing toward the old Miller farm at the edge of town. Then came the sound that made her heart seize. Heavy, rapid paw beats. Closer, faster, closing in. Lena froze, the mug trembling in her hand. "Oh, God!" she whispered, as a figure emerged from the mist. A German shepherd, lean, muscular, and moving with a terrifying urgency. Its ears pinned back, its eyes sharp, fixed on the children. The instinctive reaction surged through Lena. The dog was chasing them. "Run!" she shouted, but her voice was swallowed by the fog. The kids spun, turning toward her, panic etched across their faces. Tommy tripped over the uneven ground, his backpack flying into the air. Emma's scream cracked the quiet. The others scrambled, clutching each other, eyes wide. And yet, as the dog closed in, Lena's stomach dropped. Something was different. The shepherd's stride wasn't wild with aggression. It was calculated, desperate. Its hackles were up, yes, but there was fear there too, something almost human in its gaze. Before anyone could react further, the dog skidded to a halt at the edge of the Miller farm. Its paws sank slightly into the muddy earth, body trembling, eyes darting around. The children froze, unsure whether to flee or approach. Lena's neighbor, George Whitman, came running from his porch, his graying hair sticking out in all directions, arms raised as if to shield himself. "Get back! She's dangerous." But the shepherd didn't move forward. It whined softly, a sound of sheer desperation. Tommy, curious despite himself, edged closer. "Mom!" she scared. "She's not chasing us." The tension in the air was thick, the fog making everything seem larger, more ominous. Lena's gut twisted. She'd grown up in this town, knew every dog and cat that wandered its roads. But she'd never seen this German shepherd before. Not in town, not on the outskirts where the Miller farm lay abandoned for years. Lena set her coffee down and approached slowly, careful to make no sudden movements. "It's okay," she murmured, as though the dog might understand. Its ears twitched, tail low but stiff, eyes flicking toward the old barn behind the farm. And then Lena saw it. A small bundle, wrapped in a threadbare blanket, lying near the barn side. One hand poked out slightly, tiny fingers curling weakly. The shepherd's eyes never left the bundle. It barked once, low and warning, then nudged the package gently with its nose. Emma gasped, clutching Tommy's arm. "Oh my God, is that a baby?" Lena's stomach lurched. She glanced at the shepherd, now pressed close to the bundle, guarding it like it was the most important thing in the world. Her mind raced. Who would leave a baby out here? And why had no one noticed until now? George stepped closer, muttering curses under his breath. "That dog! That crazy must have been out here all night." "That's impossible." Lena ignored him. Kneeling, she lifted the blanket gently, revealing a small, pale-faced infant. Its eyes fluttered open briefly, then shut again. The chill in the morning air made the baby shiver. The shepherd barked sharply, growling at George's sudden approach. The man recoiled, hands raised. Lena's heart pounded, a mixture of fear and awe at the dog's protective instinct. "We need to get her inside," Lena said, nodding toward the farmhouse a little further down the lane. The shepherd didn't resist, just kept a watchful eye on the baby, as if approving the decision. Inside the farmhouse, Lena wrapped the baby in a warm blanket, checking her for signs of injury. She was unharmed, though clearly cold and frightened. The shepherd sat nearby, ears alert, eyes following every movement. "What do we do now?" Tommy asked, voice trembling. Lena shook her head, glancing at the dog. "We wait. We figure this out. But something tells me she's trying to tell us something. Something important." Outside, the fog began to lift, revealing more of the Miller farm than Lena had seen before. The barn's wooden planks were weathered and rotting, the roof sagging under years of neglect. But there were fresh footprints in the mud, small, uneven, and frantic. George leaned against the doorway, wiping sweat and dirt from his hands. "This is bad, real bad. Whoever left that baby out here, they're still around." The shepherd growled softly, stepping closer to the baby, placing a paw gently on the blanket. Her gaze flicked toward the barn again. Lena's pulse quickened. She had a sudden, terrible sense that this dog wasn't just protective. It was a witness, maybe even a victim, of something far darker than anyone could imagine. The town of Willow Creek had its secrets. Everyone did. But none of them were prepared for what had been hidden behind the Miller farm for months, maybe years. And now, thanks to a German shepherd, a fragile baby, and a foggy morning that felt like the edge of the world, those secrets were clawing their way to the surface. Lena reached for her phone, dialing the local sheriff. "Sheriff? It's Lena Barrett. You need to come to the Miller farm. It's urgent. A child and a dog, you won't believe this." On the other end, she could hear the crackle of the sheriff's old radio, a pause, and then his gruff voice. "I'm on my way. Don't touch anything else." The line went dead. Lena looked down at the baby, then at the shepherd. In that moment, the dog tilted her head, ears pricked, as if waiting for the right moment to act. And Lena realized something horrifying. This was just the beginning. The fog shifted, revealing a shadow moving near the barn. Watchful, deliberate. Someone had been watching them all along, and the shepherd had seen them first. The sheriff's truck rattled down the dirt lane, headlights cutting through the lifting fog, wheels kicking up clouds of damp earth. Lena clutched the baby to her chest, feeling the tiny pulse of life, the fragile warmth she could barely protect from the morning chill. The shepherd followed closely, ears twitching at every sound. Rustling leaves, snapping twigs, the faint clink of a gate swinging in the breeze. Sheriff Mallory stepped out, a tall, stoic man with graying temples and eyes that had seen too many tragedies in Willow Creek. He raised his hand toward the dog. "Easy, easy there, girl," he said, voice steady but wary. The shepherd froze, low growl rumbling her chest, yet didn't lunge. Lena knelt down, offering the baby to the sheriff. "She's fine, but whoever left her, they might still be around. And I think this dog knows something." Mallory frowned, studying the shepherd. "She's more than just a pet. She's protective. Trained, maybe, but there's something different in the way she's acting, like she's guarding more than just the baby." Outside, George Whitman muttered to himself, pacing the porch. "I told you, Lena, there's something rotten at that farm. I've been saying for years. Ever since the old Miller boy disappeared, this place has been cursed." Lena shushed him, eyes still on the shepherd, who was now pawing lightly at the muddy ground near the barn. The movement caught Mallory's attention. "What is it?" he asked. Lena hesitated. "Look, see those footprints? They're fresh, small, and they go into the barn." The sheriff straightened, glancing toward the decaying structure. The barn's door hung crookedly on rusted hinges, revealing a dark interior that seemed to swallow light. Lena felt a shiver creep up her spine. The shepherd's low growl echoed inside the empty space. "All right," Mallory said. "We're going in. You stay here, George." He gestured for Lena to follow, but kept his hand on the revolver at his side. Lena's heart thudded. She knew better than anyone how unpredictable the small-town roads and abandoned farms could be, especially when secrets were buried beneath them. The barn smelled of mold, rotting hay, and something metallic, faint but unmistakable, blood. Lena gagged, covering her mouth with a trembling hand. The shepherd stepped forward, nose low, sniffing every corner, ears pricked, almost as if leading them. At the back of the barn, a loose plank revealed a hidden crawl space. The shepherd pawed at it insistently, whimpering. Lena glanced at Mallory. He hesitated for only a moment before pulling the plank aside, revealing a narrow, dark tunnel descending into the earth. God, what is this? Lena whispered. Mallory shook his head. Stay close, and keep the baby out of reach. The shepherd hesitated at the edge of the tunnel, then stepped forward, nudging Lena gently with her snout, almost urging her to follow. Lena's fingers clutched the baby's blanket tighter, the child's small hands curling around her thumb. The air in the tunnel was cold, damp, and thick with the smell of decay. Every step echoed against the earthen walls. At the bottom, they found a small room, dimly lit by a single, grimy window near the ceiling. And inside, a second child. A little boy, maybe 6 or 7, huddled against the far wall, dirty, scared, and shaking. His eyes widened as the shepherd approached, tail low but wagging cautiously. Lena knelt beside him. It's okay, you're safe now, she murmured. The boy didn't move at first, just stared, lips quivering. The sheriff's eyes narrowed as he surveyed the room. This isn't random, he muttered. Someone's been keeping these kids down here. Look at the dirt, the makeshift bedding. Someone wanted them hidden. The shepherd barked sharply, causing the boy to flinch. Lena realized the dog wasn't just protective. She was warning them, guiding them, almost pleading for help. Who would do this? Lena whispered, but the answer seemed to hang in the cold, stagnant air. George's voice cracked from the doorway above. The Millers, it's them. I told you this place wasn't right. Mallory raised a hand to silence him. George, quiet. We don't know that yet. But Lena's mind raced. She had heard whispers about the Miller family over the years. Tragedy, rumors, disappearances. And now, 2 children, abandoned in a forgotten farm, and a German shepherd acting with uncanny intelligence. Something connected it all. The boy finally spoke, voice hoarse. She saved me. She's been watching over me. Lena glanced at the dog, who sat silently, eyes fixed on the boy. You've been alone? He nodded, trembling. I was afraid. They said if I screamed, I'd never see anyone again. The reality hit Lena like a punch. Whoever had done this, they had terrorized children with precise cruelty, knowing exactly how to keep them silent. Mallory surveyed the room again, his jaw tight. We need to call this in. Medical, social services, everything. And we need to figure out who's responsible before they come back. But before anyone could move, a sound came from above. The creak of floorboards, deliberate and heavy. Someone was in the barn, watching, waiting. The shepherd growled, low and warning, hackles raised. Lena felt her heart pound. She stepped protectively in front of the boy. Baby clutched to her chest. Stay calm, Mallory said quietly, revolver in hand. Don't make a sound. The door to the barn slammed open, throwing shadows across the room. A figure stepped inside, a man, early 40s, with a sharp jaw, graying stubble and eyes that didn't blink. He was thin, wiry, and carried an air of quiet menace that made Lena's stomach twist. You shouldn't be here, he said, voice low, controlled but cold. You don't understand what's going on. The shepherd lunged, teeth bared, but Mallory's sharp shout stopped her. Back! Now! The man raised his hands, unnervingly calm. I mean no harm, but you don't know who you're dealing with. If you call the police, the kids, they won't survive. Lena's pulse spiked. The man's words were chilling, but there was something in them, something that made sense in the context of the shepherd's behavior. The dog wasn't aggressive toward this man, just cautious. Who are you? Lena asked, voice trembling. What have you done to them? The man's eyes flicked toward the shepherd. I did not exactly, but I've been trying to protect them. You don't understand. The world outside this town, It's worse than anything you've ever imagined." Mallory frowned, revolver steady. "That's enough riddles. Tell me what's happening, or you're coming with me." The man laughed softly, a sound without humor. "You don't get it. These kids, they're valuable. To some people, more than you could comprehend. And if I hand them over now, you'll regret it." Lena's stomach turned. The man's intentions were murky, morally gray. He had kept children captive, yet claimed to protect them. The shepherd whined softly, nuzzling the boy and then the baby, sensing Lena's fear and confusion. Suddenly, a shadow moved outside the window, a second figure, watching, waiting. Lena's heart leapt. They weren't alone, and whoever was out there had been waiting for this moment. The man's eyes hardened. "We don't have much time. You need to decide, whose side are you on?" Lena realized, with a chill creeping up her spine, that nothing in Willow Creek was as simple as it seemed. The shepherd, the children, the mysterious man, they were all pieces of a puzzle far larger than anyone had guessed. And the truth, the horrifying truth, was about to break more than hearts. Outside, the fog shifted, and a new sound began to echo, more paw steps, heavier, deliberate. Lena's blood ran cold. This was far from over. The barn was silent, save for the low whine of the German shepherd and the soft sobs of the children. Lena clutched the baby to her chest, heart hammering, while Sheriff Mallory kept his revolver trained on the wiry man who had introduced himself as Caleb. The fog outside thinned just enough to reveal the farm in full. Decaying fences, shattered windows, and a twisted, skeletal tree that seemed to loom like a sentinel over the property. Caleb's eyes darted nervously to the shadows beyond the window. "They're out there," he whispered, voice tense. "Waiting. They've been watching for months." Lena's pulse quickened. "Who's watching? What do you mean?" He ran a hand through his unkempt hair. "There's a network, powerful people. They take children, harvest them for leverage, for secrets. They don't just disappear. And if they find out anyone interfered," his gaze fell on the shepherd. "She saved you all." The shepherd growled softly, low but steady. It was protective, yet strangely calm around Caleb, as if she recognized the complexity of his intentions. He had not been the one to harm the children, but he had kept them hidden, morally gray and extreme. Mallory tightened his grip on the revolver. "You can't justify this. You've endangered lives." Caleb flinched, but said nothing. The children huddled closer to Lena, trembling, whispering prayers. Lena's stomach churned with anger and dread. This man had held them captive. Yet the shepherd had protected them, sensing the danger far before any of them did. Suddenly, a noise erupted outside, the crunch of boots on gravel, distant voices shouting commands, vehicles stirring in the fog. The people Caleb had feared. The network had arrived. Lena's mind raced. "We need to move. Now." Caleb hesitated. "You don't understand. They're armed. You can't outrun them in the open. The only way—" "Then we fight," Mallory interrupted, voice grim. He glanced at the shepherd, who barked sharply, eyes flashing. The dog seemed to nod, ready to act. The next minutes were a blur of adrenaline and instinct. Caleb led them through a hidden passage beneath the barn, a narrow path that twisted and descended into the roots of the old farm. The shepherd pressed close, nudging the children, guiding Lena and Mallory with uncanny precision. Outside, the network searchers combed the property, unaware that their quarry had slipped through their grasp. At the end of the tunnel, a small clearing opened in the woods. Dawn's light filtered through the trees, casting long shadows that made the clearing look like a stage for something sinister. The shepherd paused at the edge, ears pricked, growling low. Lena felt her heart squeeze. The dog had stopped for a reason, and then she saw it. A single, blood-stained teddy bear lay on the ground, torn, matted, a symbol of innocence violated. Lena's throat tightened. She realized, with a sickening certainty, that not all the children had survived. The shepherd whined, nose pressed to the earth. She had led them to the living, but she had also borne witness to the dead. Caleb's face hardened. "There's one more," he said, voice barely audible. They didn't make it. We can't save everyone." Mallory's jaw clenched. Lena pressed the baby tighter against her chest. She could feel the shepherd leaning against her leg, body trembling, not with fear, but grief. The network's vehicles roared in the distance, engines grinding, men shouting. Lena realized they were trapped. They had to move fast, or the shepherd's guidance would not be enough to save them. Caleb turned to Mallory. The old creek. There's a ford downstream. It's risky, but it's the only way. They ran. The children clinging to Lena, Caleb pushing a branch aside for them, Mallory bringing up the rear. The shepherd darted ahead, clearing obstacles, barking warnings whenever a shadow threatened to fall across their path. The creek was swollen from recent rains, the water dark and churning. Lena's hand shook as she lifted the baby over the first log bridge, watching the shepherd leap agilely across. Caleb helped the little boy, his face pale, sweat and dirt streaking his features. Mallory followed, revolver ready, eyes scanning the tree line. And then from behind, a shout rang out, "Stop them!" Men in dark coats emerged, weapons raised. Lena froze. The shepherd barked ferociously, rushing toward the nearest figure. Teeth bare but controlled, her precision, her courage, astonishing. She darted, distracted one of the men, just long enough for Mallory to fire a warning shot. Chaos erupted. Lena stumbled across the creek bank, feet slipping in the mud, but the shepherd stayed near, nudging the children forward, then returning to fend off threats. Caleb followed, using brute force and cunning to block the attackers. In the end, it was the shepherd who allowed them all to make it across safely. Her bravery, a bridge between survival and tragedy. Once across, they collapsed, breath heaving, soaked to the bone, hearts pounding. Lena looked at the shepherd, her chest tight with gratitude and grief. The dog had saved them, but she had also carried the weight of horrors none of them could yet name. Caleb sank to the ground, staring at the creek. "They'll come back," he said softly. "They always do." And next time, his voice trailed, haunted. Lena held the baby close. "We'll be ready. We have to be." The shepherd laid down beside the children, tail flicking occasionally, eyes never leaving the woods. For the first time, Lena allowed herself to notice the truth. This dog was more than a protector. She was a witness, a survivor, and a guardian who had suffered silently to shield the innocent. Hours later, the network's threat had receded, at least for now. Sheriff Mallory radioed for backup and emergency services. Social workers would arrive, authorities would investigate, and the town would be shaken to its core. Lena knelt beside the shepherd, stroking her thick fur, whispering thanks. "You did everything right," she murmured. The dog leaned into her touch, eyes soft, almost human in their depth. Caleb stood at a distance, watching the children interact, unsure if he could claim any redemption. He had tried to protect them in his own twisted way, but the shepherd's courage had made the difference. He was morally gray, and he knew it, yet he allowed himself a quiet, grim satisfaction. The children were alive, and the truth that broke so many hearts, was that the shepherd had not chased the kids. She had been running to save them, alone, against forces too cruel to name. As the sun climbed higher, the mist dissipating into a pale morning, Lena looked at the dog and felt an aching weight settle in her chest. There was loss here, horror endured, and courage that defied reason. But there was also hope, fragile, stubborn, and luminous. The shepherd rose, nudged the baby gently, and then turned to Lena, as if to say, "The fight is not over, but the children are safe, for now." Lena smiled through tears. "We'll tell everyone," she said softly. "They'll know what you did." The dog barked once, a sound that was less warning, more acknowledgement, then sat quietly, watching the clearing, the creek, and the children she had saved. In Willow Creek, secrets linger like fog, but some truths, some acts of courage, illuminated even the darkest corners. And for the parents, the children, and Lena, the shepherd's bravery will remain a memory carved deep into their hearts. A reminder that even in horror, loyalty and love could endure.